She has published 4 books, published in many languages, and have sold over 500,000 copies, and her work has made her the first woman in 40 years to receive the Golden Book Award. She's been ranked as Best Female Speaker in top summits in Europe since 2022, and she is now working with helping entrepreneurs really build courses and online businesses to help them get more freedom, more finances, hit the 7-figure, and I'm so excited to hear where she's taken the lessons from the beginning of her journey to where she is now, where she's worked with celebrities, business owners, sports champions in many fields like the US Open and World Cups. She has mastermind groups for women, for business owners. She's an esteemed member of the Transformational Leadership Council. So we've had 4 other guests from there, such as John Gray, Jack Canfield. And so she is amongst a great group here. We're glad to have her join us. Flores or Florencia, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. And I think it's a really interesting time to have you. We were just talking before hitting record. It's a busy time. You've just launched the Easy Launch Academy, which I think is a project that's worth mentioning. Tell us, what is it like to go through a whole rebranding right now as you're launching this new academy?
Well, it's an interesting thing because on the outside, there's so much work to do, building the new product and building the new marketing and the branding. But I think the biggest work has been on the inside. And so shifting from my former identity as a mindset coach and working one-on-one and running some events, but doing everything in person, and then shifting that into, okay, now we're running an online business. And I'm not only running the online business because I've been doing this for many, many years, but now I'm teaching other people how to do it. So it's been a reinvention also in my own mindset.
It's interesting because I've kind of had a own reinvention for myself last year. And I almost had a frustration with myself going through a reinvention because there's a part of me that was like, I should have this figured out by now. Like I've been in this industry. I give a lot of advice to people, but I still hit a roadblock for myself thinking like, I need to reinvent. I need to switch. Is that kind of a normal cycle we go through as business owners?
Absolutely. I think it's a normal cycle as human beings. And I think the great thing is that when we're facing that frustration, that I for sure faced it, and I think it was the reason that I built what I built. When we are open enough to face it and to realize that the frustration is telling us, hey, there's something new to be done or there's something different to be done. And instead of running away from it because we're scared of the frustration, we're scared of feeling bad about ourselves. We don't like comparing ourselves to others and feeling, hey, how is it that at this point in my life, I still have not figured this out? If we stop running away from it and start running towards it, I think that's the biggest shift that happened for me. For a long time in my life, I was running away from my fears. And that running away from my fears made me, for example, overthink a business for over 10 years. Everything I had built was in the Spanish-speaking world. In the back of my mind, I had this dream, this aspiration of taking this into the English-speaking world, but I would run away from the fear of failing. I was like, what if I fail? What if now everybody looks at me and says, hey, are you dumb? Like, why did you even try this? And when I realized that I could shift and run towards the fear and I could face it and I could say, hey, you know what? Yeah, maybe I will fail. So what? So what? I don't want to die with this idea of what if I had tried it? I think that's a real game changer. So reinvention can be hard and painful and stressful and fearful. But on the other side of that awaits, I think, real upgrade to our life and ourselves.
There's a part of me trying to recall the difference between going through a reinvention or a pivot. I mean, whatever term we want to kind of use of just changing directions in general of what business we're building with everything we've learned up to that point, as opposed to when I started the first time. I found the pivot was a lot less stressful, and I feel like there was a lot more mental game in the initial momentum building. Have you noticed some of the key differences between doing those two?
Absolutely. I think when you're really first starting off, the question that is in the back of your mind is, will I be able to build this? Will I be able to do anything meaningful out of this? And you're really testing yourself for the first time. And so it's absolutely logical to have a huge baggage of fears. Most of them can even be true. You don't even know. You don't know if you're good at this. You don't know if you're going to produce anything. Now, once you have given yourself proof, at least one tiny piece of proof that you can do it, that you set your mind to do something and you did it, The second time around, you can actually lean on that proof and say, hey, even though this is absolutely new and different for me, I did it once. Why would I not do it again? And so that's where your past evidence becomes proof, and you can use it to lean to go forward.
I have to make a confession. I've had a resistance activity recently that really put me back into what it feels like to be at the beginner's mind, or for the term maybe more adequate for that industry, to be a complete newbie. Is I've been looking into doing some live streaming, right? And there's a platform called Twitch, and I'm somebody who does enjoy video games, and I've always had this concept of how do you play video games, you stream it, and you can talk business at the same time. It's been one of those ideas, but oh my God, Flores, like I have that hesitation. I have that resistance. I went and figured out the software to do like an MVP, because compared to like some of the first times I've tried something new, I felt like I need to get all the best equipment, and I don't even know if I'll like it or not. So I feel like I need to go and do some tests. But like that very much, oh my God, I don't know what to talk about. I feel like a beginner. I have that hesitance. Like it brought me back to the beginning of business. And since you have that kind of background and mindset, like to me, what I'm realizing is how much mindset plays a bigger role than anything else when we're trying to get into business. And I wanted to kind of speak to that for anybody who is having fear for trying something new. Maybe they want to launch a podcast. Maybe they want to launch an online course. What are some of the key mindset things that we need to overcome, that we could be paying attention to, that could help us through that newbie journey at the beginning?
That's a great question. And I think one of the first things we need to look at, and I think, let's say the people I coach, I'm teaching them how to monetize a skill online. Most of them have never done it before. So it's a complete new thing. Selling themselves online and charging money for it, it's new. And oftentimes they will enter the space saying, I'm so bad at selling, or I'm so bad at marketing, at speaking on camera. I'm so bad at this. And so my next question is, have you done this before? And many times they go, no, but I know I'm bad. Have you really ever tried to do this before? And if the answer is no, then I want you to start changing the I'm bad at this, or I'm not naturally good at this, for I have no experience in this. I still have no experience. And of course you will feel, and maybe it will even be true that you suck at first, and it's okay. But you need to just step into the space knowing, hey, I have no experience in this. It will probably take me a little bit of time and energy to collect experience. I will probably suck at this for a little bit, but if I keep going, when I started creating online courses, you should see the material. Like, I want to pull out my hair. It's cringy. It was bad. I'm not just saying that. It was bad. I looked very tense on camera. I didn't know what I was doing. I was filming with a phone with a light that came through the window, and my kids were around, so it would be interruptions. And I kept going, and I think the reason that I could keep going is because at no point, hey, I'm so bad at this. All the time I was thinking, I'm gaining experience. I'm getting a little bit better. I would invest, of course, in learning from other people, and I would get a little bit better and a bit better. And so the discomfort, we will always feel that when we're doing something new. What is not okay is to bring yourself down, being hypercritical, comparing yourself, your day one to day 1,000 of someone else, thinking, I'm so bad at this. You're not. You just need more experience.
Yeah, this is true. And it's funny because oftentimes when we're trying something new, we're going to look for some people that have done it before. We're going to look for inspiration, and we're going to see only people that are on their day 1,000. And it's almost like, okay, I need to do a bit of market research, but in the process, it becomes extremely intimidating. Is it something you still advise to do, or is there a point where you have to be like, shut off all the information intake? We just need to go out to produce information.
I think it's a mix of both. I think really moving forward has to do with one foot is about information, and you need some information. You need someone to teach you things. I'm of the opinion that, the saying is truth. Before you go through a season of earning, you need to go through the famous season of learning. And so I'm always in for that. And then at one point, you need to take action. You need to stop waiting till you feel absolutely ready, because you will never feel absolutely ready, at least in my opinion. So at one point, you just have to take the leap and go for it anyway, even if you don't feel ready. Because, and that in my experience, dealing with the self-doubt and the not feeling ready, it happens at every single stage of the journey. Every time you're going for something a bit better or a bit different, you will still feel all the self-doubts coming, but you will have more muscle to face them.
You talked about how when you started, you were able to kind of identify that, hey, I have no experience, as opposed to labeling yourself as someone, oh, I'm bad at this, which often is the energy that stops us in our tracks when we start something new. Had you had experience with like being conscious of your mindset or your self-talk? Is it something that kind of naturally you've always had kind of a positive attitude that carry you through this? Or were there certain things that you've actually went to learn even before getting into business so you could be ready to face these challenges? Because most people get stopped really early.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I was blessed enough to have, first off, I'm not naturally positive. So, contrary to popular belief, because I teach confidence and mindset, it's not something that comes naturally to me. I tend to be a lot more fear driven and anxiety driven. And so I really had to learn how to use those energies to propel me forward. But I think when I really realized that I had to upgrade my mindset was when I had been working as a mindset coach for a long time. So I should have known my stuff by then. And I was okay doing what I was doing. But when I started facing this moment in my life where I realized, hey, I'm working all day long. I'm pretty good at what I do. I have a full schedule, one-on-one clients everywhere, small live events or bigger live events, but something was not right with the way I was doing it. I was exhausting myself. I was driving myself to a burnout. And when I thought my schedule could not get any busier, I became a mom. And that's where I faced rock bottom regarding my mindset, because I realized that no positive thinking was helping me, because I was sitting there and trying to be positive and thinking, well, I just need to organize my schedule better. I just need to, and I will be able to do this. And it didn't work. I actually had to face the reality. Full reinvention implied also reinventing my mind. And when you go from working on your own and being independent and you suddenly start thinking along the lines of starting a business, my entire mindset had to change. I had to change the way I thought about money. I realized I had a level of, for example, of income. I was used to that and I couldn't go past that. I realized I was working 12 hours a day and I could not free myself from that kind of mindset. And so when I was not hustling, feeling guilty, I was like, what am I doing? But now I had a baby in my hands. And so I'm like, feeling guilty all the time. I'm not being a good enough mother. I'm not being good with my mindset coaching business. And that's where, yeah, rock bottom hit me hard. And I thought there has to be a different way. There has to be a different way of making business. But it started with my mind. There has to be a different way in which I can see myself using my skills and talents in a different way. And so, yeah, I think it's a path a little bit like this. It goes on up and down with the mind.
Yeah, I mean, even with what I teach, I talk about different types of emotions when you sell because you're not always in a positive, I love everyone, because I talk about selling with love. It's not always the case. We go up and down, and I think the mastery of emotions and mindset are big, big aspects of any kind of entrepreneurial venture. But, I'm always amazed when I hear about these massive constraints come into somebody's life and they get to generate an output that is bigger than they've ever had before that constraint even existed. And of course, I don't want to call, children necessarily a constraint, but nonetheless, you're having something that's going to put a priority difference on your time. And it seems to me like as the beginning, you're like, oh shit. But from the pressure of that, you're like, oh wow, you figured a lot of different things out. Are there some key things that you've figured out in that transition, having the new time restraints that really helped you, scale what you're doing as a business with the impact and the revenue?
Yeah, so first, I think that it was not as smooth and fast as it sounds, because my baby was born. And so for the first few months, I thought I'll just keep doing what I know how to do. And so I was trying to get online and follow my one-on-one clients. And then they would change the time of our meeting. And I would go crazy thinking, no, the meeting was set at when my baby was napping. And now my whole day is mixed up. I could not travel anymore as much as I could not be on my computer all day long. I faced almost 1 year of not knowing what to do, and all of my savings started disappearing. And one night, I will remember, it was like 3, 4 and I had just breastfed my baby, and I was sitting there in the dark and thinking, there has to be another way. There has to be another way. And that's when I discovered that there were women just like me, women and men, who were making so much money from their homes, teaching what they knew how to do in an online course. And when I started going into that space, at the beginning I was all pumped up, like I had just discovered gold, when you're seeing a new idea, and I was like, yeah, this is the new thing, I'm going to do this. And then I faced this huge wall of, who am I to do this? I have no idea about technology. I have no team that I can rely on to help me. I did not even consider myself such a huge guru to be teaching online. And so I had to face all of these things that were in my mind. And I slowly, very slowly started learning a little bit and a little bit more. But it all started in a very messy way. When people tell me, I want to start my business, but this is not the ideal time in my life, I think, you know what? I started my business because it was not ideal, because my bank account was not reflecting the amount of hours I was working. I had a baby who was demanding me all the time. And I just really needed to take myself to a new level. And I started dreaming about, well, what would a really freedom-based business look like? And it took me many years to understand how to do it, because when I came into this space, this was many years ago, it was basically men, and they were teaching it in a way that I could not understand anything. So I felt like this foreigner, fake person trying to play this persona of running an online business when I had no idea what I was doing. But I gradually became better and better. And I gradually, I ended up building courses, Valley and stuff. And it really, what drives me the most is that I get to help people who have no idea, Jason, and who are just like me. Maybe they're at home and thinking, how on earth can I make more money from home? Or they have children to take care of, or they are facing retirement, or they are just burnt out from a 9-to-5 job that is not, firing up their passion, and I get to help them. And so I think it comes to a full circle, but it took many years. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And for everybody tuning in, if you go into the show notes, we're going to have some links to Florencia's academy. If ever looking to work from home, launching your own academy, an online course actually is going to be something you want to look into. Definitely go check that out. There's tons of free resources and programs you can go and investigate even more. But with that being said, it seems like, we're going to have a lot of us find these time constraints. It seems also that today, out of any time that I've seen, there seems to be a lot more fear in the environment around the economy. It seems like things, there's a lot of different things that are necessarily showing signs of walking into a golden age. And with that, there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to employment. And here we're actually seeing that there's some opportunities that exist in the midst of all this. Is this a common thing that you recommend for people who might have job insecurity to look into launching this business? And can it be as easy for even people that don't have the experience today compared to when I and you started?
It's so much easier today. First off, what you're saying and addressing about the economy is such a real thing. And I think that one of the great things about the online space, that it is a booming market. The data shows that we're looking at a $350 billion business within 1 year. And the interesting thing, and here's where it becomes really enticing for people, is that most of the people, that there's approximately 5 billion users of online stuff today, social media and stuff, but only 0.04% of people are actually creating the content that is being sold. And when you look at creators, there's very interesting data too. A recent study was performed where they show that 5% of the creators, of the people who are delivering online courses and stuff online, only 5% of them are making figures and beyond. And they are doing it because there's 3 things that they are doing, and it's so easy and simple that anyone can actually step into this market. That's why I'm bringing this, because you were saying, there's people who might be listening to this and thinking, well, can I have a piece of that cake? Can I jump in? Well, here's the three things that the top creators are doing, the ones that are making 6 and 7 figures and beyond. One, they're not relying on brand deals, which means that this is not only for big influencers, and if you have 2 million followers, then you can make money. No, in fact, the most successful ones are not big influencers. The second thing they're not doing is they're not creating constant content for social media. And so, because another fear of people going in space is, do I have to become an influencer? Do I have to start selling products like a mad person? No, not at all. And the third finding was that most of the creators derive 70% of their revenue from a single online course. So when you come to think about it, there's teachers who are teaching other teachers how to teach better, and they're making 20, 30, 50K per month. And there's nurses who are doing this, and there's people from every single niche and profession have decided to, hey, I want to package what I know in a simple office, and I can sell it and serve a lot more people. And so with the world and the economy looking so fragile and difficult to predict, when you're into the online business, it's a business that is very easy to predict. It will just grow and grow.
So I love what you're mentioning about things being easier, and you've even, I caught you mention AI, and of course that's a hot topic for everybody. And this is kind of what I want to throw at you, is that I'm noticing with AI, it's easier than ever to navigate all the things around putting a course online. I'm looking at the tech platform. Like if you're using tools that are coming out that are great, and I should put an affiliate link, maybe I will, but Kajabi is a platform I use. I think it's easier than ever to build a course, to build a community, to get everything done. They have AI built in, and it's like, oh my God, there are no more barriers to entry. But then there's two things I want to ask for you is, knowing that all of this is easier now, what is the barrier to entry that still remains? And secondly, what is going to be the secret sauce that we need to have that makes us stand out if everybody can do it?
That's a great question. So first off, today AI makes things, all the heavy duty work of putting a course together can be so much easier with AI. Of course, we are still the brains behind our projects. Otherwise, they would not really represent us. But to your question about what then makes people still look at this from the outside, I think number one thing is that there's this myth that says that in order to build an online business, let's say an online course or whatever form of online business, you have to be, specifically for online courses, you have to be some sort of guru. So you have to be, this Harvard professor or best-selling author. And the truth is that today, some of the most successful course creators are not that. They're not that. They are people who have figured out the solution to something sometimes very small and can lead other people to do the same. And so you don't need to be a guru. The other thing is that a lot of people, I think, are very much intimidated by technology. And so the first thing they say is, I'm not a techie. And I'm not a techie myself. I'm very far from a techie. But today, really, your phone is enough. Your phone is, maybe you want to invest in a ring light from Amazon for like $17. That's about it. That is enough. And so I think when you understand that you don't need to be a guru, that you don't need to be a techie, that you also don't need to have teams, because before AI, it is true that you kind of needed someone to take care of the marketing and the branding, or maybe if you were not good at writing emails, you needed someone to write the emails for you. And if you were not good at, building a sales page, you needed someone to help you there. Today, you can get a full team with AI. And so when you understand that today, really the only barrier is here. It's within your ears. It's really asking yourself, why are you not doing this? Jason, today, when I go to social meetings, I have to bite my tongue to not ask people, why are you not using all that knowledge that you have that took you so many years to acquire? Why are you not monetizing it online? It's so easy. And so, it's easier than ever, for sure.
And so we've addressed the fact that it's easier than ever. Of course, I know the discomfort with technology. And again, I'll call myself out. I've seen some tech things come out once in a while where I was just looking at it and like TikTok. I'll point out that one because I've never really I'm not on TikTok. I don't like using it neither. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in my later 30s now. Am I in the generation where these new technologies are starting to intimidate me? But I'm also of an attitude. I roll up my sleeves and I go poke around. And I think that resistance to technology probably is one of the biggest barriers that do remain. And so to credit what you're saying is that, okay, it's easier than ever now. We just need to understand that, hey, if you care a bit to go look, you'll realize it's not as hard as you think, and no need for the team and all that. So you've mentioned how, we have knowledge and skills that we've learned over the years that we can monetize online. What is the thing that we should be paying attention to have the more chances of being successful online? You've already talked about how sales pages can write themselves, emails can write themselves. So copy, should we be thinking about learning more about copy? Should we be thinking more about learning to be leaning into the tech? Or is there maybe a certain skill that we should really lean into that makes us successful online?
I think the number one thing we need to understand when we go online is that we need to get laser focused on what to sell. And that's the number one question people ask me, like, okay, let's say I'm a doctor and now I want to monetize online, or I'm a yoga teacher, but what do I sell? And so I really take, at least in my experience and with my method, I take a long time to actually understand what to sell, because understanding what to sell also comes down to the real question is, what problem can I solve? And in order to be really understanding what problem can I solve, you not only need to understand what to sell, and what to sell can come from your experience. Let's say your professional experience, your life experience. Maybe you've been through something really hard in your life, so maybe you faced divorce or whatever. So it could be from your professional skills or your pains. And then you need to understand what the market needs. And so that's when you need to understand who your client is. And so when you understand what to sell and who to sell it to, and the who to sell it to is not, as you know, is not just the zip code and the gender of the people you're talking to, but really understand, what are they really frustrated about? What are the true problems? What keeps them awake at night? What are they secretly jealous when they look at other people? What do they fight with their spouses over? When you really understand the psychology of who you're selling to, and you understand what you can sell based on your skills, based on your past experiences, with those two, then the process of building the business is really just one brick on top of the other. And it's easy. It's straightforward. But I think the most brain power goes into understanding what and who.
Well, you're speaking to the choir. You are talking to an audience that I'm trying to drill that message on. Very, very biased. So yes, I do think sales actually is one of the most important things. And yes, the most important things in sales is understanding your client. I'll give you a thing from my leaflet, which is one of the loves of selling is love the client. And the best way to show love is to understand. And so I definitely love what you're sharing right now. But I also wanted to kind of dive into some of the nuances around understanding what the market needs. And this is maybe just an open-ended question, because oftentimes I've seen that some of the pains that we might face individually can become a clue to what's happening in the marketplace. But I've also seen that maybe sometimes our own personal situation and our own problem can become almost like a blind spot of assuming that the entire marketplace has the same issue as you. How do you navigate this whole personal bias? Is it an advantage or is it a blind spot?
I think you navigate it by talking to people. So you go out there, and instead of creating your thing in isolation, and I've done this and I've made this mistake at the beginning, I would just lock myself up in a room and start crafting. Okay, I'm going to do a mindset course, and it's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be for everyone, because who doesn't need to upgrade their mindset? And I did it in complete isolation for months. And when I had it ready and beautiful, I launched it. And guess what happened? It flopped. It flopped massively. And I was so shocked. I was like, how come people are not buying this? Everyone needs this. Well, sometimes the best idea is to actually check. And you check by talking to your people. And if you have an audience, go ask them. Make a poll. It's so easy today. And if you don't have an audience, talk to real people. Go to a social meeting and test your idea out. Call a few friends and tell them, hey, I'm thinking along these lines. I'm thinking about creating a course to solve this problem. Does it sound interesting to you? And when you start getting those real conversations and feedback, your eyes may open wide because maybe you discover things that you were not even considering as really important things. And maybe the market actually validates you and they say, hey, that's amazing. And I would buy your course. Or they would point you in the direction of someone else. But I think one of the worst mistakes we make as entrepreneurs, and we make it because we're scared of feedback, is creating in isolation. When we do that, it's such a disservice to ourselves and to our potential clients. And so I would say, yes, dive into your experience. Of course, ask yourself, what experience do I have? What transformations have I made for myself? What transformations have I helped other people do? Like all the questions to really dive deep into what you could be offering online, and then go talk to people. Then get out of your closed doors and your computer, shut your computer and open up real conversations, because you will get so much information, so much information. At least it has always been that way for me.
Well, I think we're cut from the same cloth, because I definitely resonate on that sentiment. I remember while at Mind Valley, we would be working on some launches and we would send out surveys. We would look at the data and make some decisions. But as much as I am a marketer, I'm a little more lenient towards being a salesperson. So to me, I was like, well, this data is great, but I can't feel the person. So I would just go and call all the past clients, talk to them about what they loved, what they didn't love, what they want to see more of. And that anecdotal evidence would motivate me to work harder, because I could see the transformation. It would give me some ideas I could have never thought of on my own. So I definitely have applied what you're sharing. I vouch for it as myself. And I think it's super underutilized. Isn't it weird that being more human seems to be the solution to being more successful in some aspect where we're seeing AI coming everywhere?
I think it's so fascinating, and that's the reason why I don't fear AI and I don't buy the whole thing about AI completely replacing us, especially for creators, especially for people who are creating original stuff. It's not going to happen. And when you have the sensibility and the empathy that comes only from a human mind and heart, to really, as you said, pick up the phone, talk to these people, listen to the way they explain their problems in their own words, feel the feelings they have when they express these words. That is not something that AI will, at least right now, we're not replaceable there, and that's a great thing. And then you use AI to replace you in the things that get boring or are difficult for you. If you're not a writer, you use it to write for you. If you're not very good with social media, you use it to help you create some pieces. But in the original creation, in the understanding the human problems that you could be solving today, that's where we, I think, still are irreplaceable.
And there are boundless opportunities that still exist out there. Florencia, fantastic having you on a show, having you share everything we've went through today. But I wanted to ask, what are some of the exciting projects you're working on now that are getting you inspired and excited for the year?
My passion project today is Easy Launch Academy. I am beyond excited to see so many people being able to monetize for the first time in a real interesting scale their unique skills and passions. In our current cohort, we have 23 countries represented with people from every single industry you can think of. And that is what makes my heart beat every day. Every single morning I wake up to a message from someone, either showing me their sales, which of course makes me very happy. But what makes me even more happy is seeing people step into a new identity. The identity of, hey, I wanted to get rid of all the things that were pushing me down. I wanted to create a life of freedom for myself, and not only financial freedom, but location freedom. I wanted to be able to say no to all the things that were pulling me down, but I didn't know how to. And now I know. And so that's my passion project, is Easy Launch Academy for sure.
I love it. Well, as I mentioned mid-show, I'll repeat it again. We'll put a link in the show notes. You guys can go check out all of the offerings that are there. If this is something that speaks to you, definitely go down this rabbit hole. You will discover more. And the work that Florencia has been putting together is absolutely fantastic. So I'm excited it's brought to the world and that you're bringing some great sales advice for the people. You are on the Selling with Love show, so I do have to ask you the question, what does selling with love mean to you?
I knew this one was coming. And so I thought about it. And it was so interesting because for a long time, to me, selling was this thing that I just did not like. I loved everything about my work. And when someone asked me, so how much do you charge? My voice would go up, like, huh? Suddenly getting all tense and nervous because I really hated it. And then one day I had a conversation that changed my life. And this person told me, Florencia, what if you replace the word selling with serving? And I suggest anyone who feels a bit awkward around selling to really think about serving. And when you think about serving, it's not just a change in words, it's a change in our mindset. When you think about serving, you truly want to serve your client. You're going to put your best into a product that makes you feel proud. You're going to love and respect your product. You're going to love and respect your client. And you're going to love and respect yourself. Because the thing is that if we create a product that is fantastic and we really care about our clients, and we think about them night and day. But if we forget ourselves in that journey, if we forget about love and respect towards ourselves, we might end up burned out and stressed out. That's what happened to me. And that's why I decided, hey, there needs to be a different way that I can show love and respect, not only in my products and to my clients, but to myself. And so I think that when we do that, we really can step into this place of selling with love, selling through love, and love selling.
Absolutely. Flor, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy with a new venture, but just taking a moment of your time to come and share with my audience has been fantastic. Some of the key takeaways I've taken from this conversation is just, understanding that we're always going to find ourselves at a moment of mindset hesitation when we're going through various reinventions, or even more when you're getting started. Key difference being that once you've started, you've had some, evidence of success that I think are great reminders. So it makes it a little less difficult the more you lean into it. So even if you're having that resistance at the beginning, don't call it being bad at anything, call it just being inexperienced. And I think that really alleviates a lot of the burden that we put on ourselves when we get started. So keep that in mind. We've all had to start there. Flor started there, I started there, and then you just keep compounding and leaning into these amazing things. We've talked about how AI, it's coming and it's here. It doesn't need to be feared. It's lowering the barrier to entry. So lean into it, get playful with it, and see that you might not need as big of a team as you think to get all the magic done. You might not need to have a big tech stack like we used to have back in the day. Things are all much more effortless. And the key element that remains is of humanity. Talk to people. If you're trying to find the product market fit, which will be one of the key things you do at the beginning, talk to people, share about what you're working on. The skills you've built over the years can be monetized online. There's still a huge opportunity. Everyone is online. Barely anybody is teaching, creating. And so if you decide to do this into your own career, it's more accessible than ever. It's possible, and you just need to get a bit curious about it, and you'll see those opportunities do exist. Of course, we talked about the beautiful way of selling with love. I do love that way that you describe selling, and I think for everybody who's leaning into serving will do fantastic in this field. And I want to remind everybody to check out the Easy Launch Academy. Again, link will be in the show notes. And for me, that was a fantastic conversation. So Flor, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. That was such a pro wrap up. Thank you so much. That was incredible. Thank you. And for people who want to maybe dive in but are not sure, there's a whole free masterclass. I can share the link with you so you add it to the show notes. And it's a really beautiful journey that can get you started.
There we go. We'll send that right in. And thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.